Watch this video if you want to know how to lower your risk in retirement. We as individuals can jeopardize our success in retirement if we view risk the way that the media portrays risk. And in this video, I'm going to show you how they portray risk, how a near retiree should probably look at risk. And I'm going to give you one simple trick to help you make it not an issue. So first, I'm going to talk about what risk is and what it's not. Then I'm going to give you two definitions for risk that probably apply a little bit more to a person closer to retirement. I'll discuss the king of all risks. Then I'll give you one simple trick to lower your risk in retirement. Hey everyone, I'm Nick Davis, founder of Brindle and Bay Wealth Management, and I'm here to show you how to retire with calmness and clarity. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe. If you like it, please like the video. Thanks. Let's get started. Risk is not what is portrayed on the media. You see, the media portrays risk as volatility, and I think this is poorly defined because risk and volatility are not synonymous to each other. So again, risk is not temporary volatility. To quote the legendary Howard Marks, volatility is at best an indicator of the presence of risk, but volatility is not risk. This is because volatility is nothing other than price fluctuation around a trend line, and that could be good or bad depending upon whether that trend line is going up or going down. And at least for diversified, disciplined investors, that trend line has been going up. And what that means is that volatility has historically not been risk. I'll share more about that in a moment. But if risk is not volatility, then what is it? I believe that risk, when it's properly defined, is one of two things. It's the possibility of permanent loss of capital, or it's any decision that moves you further away from reaching your goals. I think everybody can agree that permanent loss of capital is indeed risk. It's also the greatest fear we all have. In a moment, I'm going to introduce to you the greatest risk of them all and a trick you can do to lower your risk in retirement. But first, I'm going to lay some groundwork. So the possibility of permanent loss. In the investment world, the possibility of permanent loss does exist. If you have everything riding on one stock, remember Enron, WorldCom, Lehman Brothers, or last year, Silicon Valley Bank, yeah, you can definitely have a permanent loss of capital. But for the stock market as a whole, permanent loss is something that historically the stock market has never experienced for diversified investors. So we've experienced quite the opposite of permanent loss in the US stock market. Since 1960, the S&P 500 is up 78 times, not including dividends. And if that feels like ancient history, if you go back to 1990 and you had invested $100,000 and reinvested those dividends, you'd have $2.2 million today. It's a 22 times return. See the video description for the references for this. So disclaimer, there's no guarantees that this history would repeat itself, but it does make it harder to argue that market volatility is the definition of risk, given enough time. Now, I can already hear you saying, but I'm retiring soon. I don't have time for that to come back. That's the gut reaction most people would say. And that's true. That's why you should have a retirement income plan. And there's various different income creating strategies that we've talked about on this channel and other places you can hear about, like having a CD ladder, a bond ladder, a volatility buffer, a bucket strategy, multiple different ways that people can do income planning. But that doesn't mean that when you retire, then the stock market is off limits or detrimental. In fact, it's necessary. Risk is the possibility of permanent loss of capital. And the crazy thing is that we reduce our risk by including a diversified portfolio in our plan. This is why we have to be careful about our time horizon. It's very important to always be aware of where your next money is coming from and how much money from your plan you're going to need. Again, the key is having a plan. The stock market is risky in the near term, and it's less risky in the long term. The other definition of risk was any decision that reduces the probability of you reaching your goals. So these are the behavioral things that we do that introduce more risk. This is the king of risks. We are the ones who bring it in, our emotions and our behavior. Sure, under normal markets, It's easy to make good decisions. It's under abnormal markets where the mistakes are made. Behavioral decisions like overreacting to market volatility and selling out, maybe during a bear market due to fear. Buying into the fads of the moment. Chasing the best performing stocks or funds. Or acting on market forecasts, such as interest rates are going up, so the market's always going to go this direction. Here we are in 2023. We're in the third quarter. The market's doing exactly the opposite of all the experts said was going to happen in January. So these are just a few examples of how we introduce more risk. We feel good for a while. Now we feel afraid. Again, under normal market conditions, we tend to not make mistakes. It's really when those unusual things happen, and those unusual things happen quite often. You know, you often hear people say that doing nothing is often the right answer. If you've already got a plan in place and you've been sophisticated about what you're doing nothing feels irresponsible. And it's often difficult, especially for financial advisors, to say, hey, you're well diversified. We know when you're going to spend your money and how you're going to spend it. You're being strategic. Now you need to stay the course. Doing nothing feels very, very irresponsible. I once heard an anecdote that, and this may or may not be true, but in soccer, you have greater probability of the goalie can stand still for a penalty shot. And I know nothing about soccer, but if they stand still, the odds of them getting the ball pass is very low versus jumping one direction or the other. But the goalie often feels like he needs to jump one direction or another. So doing nothing feels super awkward. But as long as we've got our plan in place, usually it's the right answer. You could make like a duck. So one solution is to make like a duck. And what's interesting is, if you ever think about ducks, their heads look like above the water. They look totally normal, totally calm, cool, and collective. But as they're moving across that pond, what's happening below the surface is a lot of movement. And I would relate that to the fact that, if you put a plan in place, if you have some level of sophistication happening in your plan, that is the stuff that's happening below the surface. So on the surface itself, the duck seems like he's doing nothing. And I think that that's one thing that you can relate to when it comes to staying your course, but you're actually doing some things. Some of those things that you're doing are just things that you've already done or things that are already in place. So here's the simple trick to avoid introducing more risk into your plan. And that is to ask yourself a question. Always ask yourself a simple question. And that is, will my future self regret this decision? Almost any decision that comes from a place of fear or greed produces unwanted results. So it's more likely that your adjustment in the moment will result in permanent loss. In fact, considering market history, doing anything other than staying the course is likely to lead to regret. It's really as simple as that. I hope I've made it clear that risk is multidimensional. It's not simple volatility. There are many faces to risk. And I think that risk is best understood in light of your long-term goals. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to watch this next one. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you'd like to see the way that we help people to create calmness and clarity for their next chapter of life, take a look at us at brindleandbay.com. Again, thanks for watching the videos. Please remember to subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time a new video comes out.